So good morning, everybody. Smiles, big smiles. All right, be excited. I didn't go to sleep till 4 o'clock this morning. I hope you guys got more rest than me. Um, all right, so let's pick up where we left off. We left off. This is continuing chapter two. Um, we're talking about the MLSs and the membership in MLSs. In order to become a member of an MLS, your broker needs to be a member of that MLS. So you can only join the MLSs that your broker is a member of. And one of the requirements is that you have to be a licensed real estate agent and a realtor in good standing for most of them anyway. That's a requirement. And we were going over the three realtor associations that you will be a member of. You'll be a member of a local association, the state association, which gives a lot of perks and benefits, and NARD, the National Association of Realtors. All right. And then each MLS has their own membership fees as well. Here's a list of all the MLSs in New Jersey. Let me also give you that list from the New Jersey Realtors website here. We have All Jersey MLS, formerly Central Jersey MLS, formerly Middlesex County MLS. All right, so they changed their name a couple of times from Middlesex County recently. It was just the Middlesex County MLS. Then they changed their name to Central Jersey MLS because they wanted to get a wider market share. And then they scratched their heads and they said, well, if we're going to do that, why don't we just name it All Jersey MLS to get the most market share that we can? So they're trying to give the impression that they're the MLS that covers all of New Jersey. So All Jersey MLS, okay? They are making some improvements to it, though, that is eking out in that direction, which is pretty good. But they're not there yet. So they're still the primary MLS for Middlesex County. Okay. We have Bright MLS, Cape May County MLS, New Jersey MLS, Moore MLS, that's the Monmouth Ocean Regional MLS, Garden State MLS, they're like the northern west part of New Jersey. Not totally west, but the northern part of New Jersey. I'll show you on the map. Uh, we have Realty Multiple Listing System and South Jersey Shore Regional MLS. Even though they don't even have a website anymore, they're more merging with others. But these are the contacts for all the MLSs. So just in case you wanted all that contact information, here's all the MLSs in New Jersey. All right. Now I have all that information on our slides here with direct links directly to all those MLSs. Now I could show you on this map, which shows you, in case you didn't know, we have 21 counties here in New Jersey with 564 municipalities. Um, that's a lot. All right. So when you get a listing, you got to put that listing in an MLS. An MLS. Which MLS? They're not specific about it. It's whichever one is the primary MLS to your area. And what makes an MLS the primary MLS to your area? Whichever one most of the licensees are using. Okay, that makes sense. Um, because if most of the licensees are using a particular MLS to search for properties in that area, that would only make sense. That's where you should put your listings for that area, right? So the Garden State MLS, where's their primary area of coverage? I'll tell you, it's like around Middlesex County here. It's Union, Essex, Morris, Somerset, Hunterdon, Warren, and Sussex County. That's Garden State MLS. However, if you open up Garden State MLS, they have a listing of all 21 counties and all 564 municipalities. So you could put listings in there from anywhere in New Jersey. But the people down in Cape May, they're probably not going to be a member of the Garden State MLS. So they're not going to be searching the MLS down there, the Garden State MLS, for listings down in Cape May. You follow? Because it's not really the primary MLS down there. They got their own Cape May County MLS. All right. So, which covers primarily Cape May, since we're at it. All Jersey MLS, formerly Central Jersey MLS, formerly Middlesex County MLS. Its primary area of coverage is Middlesex County still, even though, surrounding areas, I guess, if you're a member, you can enter your listings in there too. The RMLS, that's the regional regional MLS there. They cover Hudson County and the northernmost portion of Hudson County. So this is really the Hudson County MLS. So they cover the most northern part of Hudson County up here. Here's Hudson County. You see where my mouse is? All right, that's the area that they cover. Then you have NJMLS. Well, they cover NJMLS covers actually, let me see, Hudson County MLS. They cover all of Hudson County except for the northernmost part. Sorry, I had that backwards. The NJMLS covers the northernmost part of Hudson County, Bergen, and Passaic counties. That's the primary for those areas. And then we have Bright MLS, formerly called Trend MLS. They cover the southwestern portion of the state, everything from Mercer County down. Mercer, Burlington, Atlantic, Camden, Gloucester, Salem, and Cumberland. All right. I missed one. Oh, number 3 here. More MLS. That stands for the Monmouth Ocean Regional MLS. They cover all of Monmouth County and the northern part of Ocean County, because Ocean County had it. There's a Southern Ocean County MLS as well. However, they're in the process right now of merging with the Monmouth Ocean Regional MLS, which makes sense. Okay, and Cape May County MLS. So look at that. Without even joining Cape May County MLS, you guys, if you become members of the Monmouth Ocean Regional MLS, you'll become members of MLS that covers Monmouth, Ocean, and Cape May County. All right. Now, it does have all these other counties listed in it as well, just like all the MLSs have a listing of all 21 counties and all 564 municipalities. But this is a way that you can get the coverage of a lot of these different areas. A lot of these MLSs are starting to merge, and all Jersey MLS, they're all their own business entities. Okay, now all Jersey MLS is coming out with, they're the first one to come out with a pretty cool tool that if you're a member of any of these other MLSs, you could put it once, the listing in all Jersey MLS, and it'll automatically enter that listing in the other MLS as well. Now, that's not implemented yet, but they're working on it. It will be implemented sometime this year. Okay, that's what they're telling us. So that's actually phenomenal technology. You figure it may have already been there, but no, it's not. All these different MLSs, they're different software, so you got to match up the fields. It's a big pain in the neck for the engineers, not us, for them. So once they implement it, it should be real easy for us and pretty cool that when these MLSs start merging, you're a member of one, you could have access to a much greater area of the state without paying all that additional membership fees for each and every one of these MLSs, which that's coming soon, okay? So that's a pretty cool tool. Anyway, all of these MLSs here, these 7 MLSs, they are they are primarily for residential, but you could put commercial listings in them, industrial properties. You could put businesses for sale and all that jazz. Now, if you're going to be working in commercial MLS primarily, commercial real estate primarily, well, these are the MLSs for you. CoStar is the world's largest commercial MLS in the world. Okay, they're also very expensive. Last time I checked, which was quite a few years ago, membership there was about $325 on their cheapest plan. Membership there was about $325 a month. So you better be sure you want to do commercial real estate, and you're all in for that. Now, LoopNet was bought by CoStar. They're a cheaper alternative to get in, and any listing you put in CoStar will be put into any listing you put in LoopNet will be put into CoStar as well. But what's the difference between those primarily commercial MLSs and those primarily residential MLSs? Well, here, let's come down here for a second. The commercial MLSs are pay for data and information model. Whereas the primarily residential MLSs, you're paying for the access to the information. Only licensees can have access to it. These commercial MLSs, you got the money to join, you don't even need to be a real estate licensee in order to join it. Okay. So you got property owners that are becoming members of that, which just shows you that commercial real estate is even a little more cutthroat than you may have thought before, because you're also competing against the property owners who could say, well, what are you going to do for me that I can't do on my own? I could put my listing in an MLS, right? So there's a lot of data that comes with this. You guys ever watch shows like Bar Rescue on TV? Anybody ever see that show, Bar Rescue? The guy John Taffer, he goes in to rescue failing bars, see what's wrong with them, turns them around. He pulls up a map of the area, and he puts up the blueprint of the building. He pulls up a map of the area and says, "Look, this is the demographics. You don't just open up a bar. It's a business. You have to have a strategy to it. There's a science to having a successful bar." So he said, he pulls up this map and he's like, this is everybody within a mile, 3 miles, and 5 miles of your location. He pulls up this map, and it's primarily either blue collar workers, white collar workers, college age kids, he gets into the real demographics, mostly married, mostly single. You have to put the right type of bar in the area that's going to cater to the demographic of the majority of the people that live in that area. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense, and the bar is going to be struggling right out of the gate. So you have to cater to the people that live there. You don't just you don't build it and they will come. That's not the way that it works. So where does he get all this information, that he knows all this information about the people that are living there in that area? Well, the MLS. That's why these MLSs are so expensive. Data, information is valuable. Okay. He says, right in front of your front door on this street, right in front of your own bar, this many cars pass by every day. Where does he get that information? The MLS. Okay, because the MLS needs that. So you also have CIMLS, that stands for Commercial Industrial MLS. This is the only one that's actually owned by a Realtors Association. So you need to be a licensee and a member of the Realtors Association to be a member of that one. Now, 10X and CREXI, those are not MLSs, but they're tools for people in commercial real estate. No license is required for, like I said, membership in any of these. I don't need to read that. It is expensive. Okay, so why do you need all this information? Why do you need to pay for all this expensive information that's available in these commercial MLSs? Well, because commercial indicates businesses. Businesses, you got to cater to the audience of the people that live in the area. For example, if you wanted to open up a clothing store for, like, those brightly colored dresses that the Indian ladies wear, they're called saris. All right. So if you were going to open up a store selling those, I mean, anybody can buy them, anybody could wear them, but who is really the primary target audience that you're trying to reach for that? It's the Indian people, right? I mean, other people buy them too, but so it would make sense for you, before you open up a business, to search for a location in an area that has high Indian population, right? Now, you can't search like that in the primarily residential MLSs, because that would be discriminatory. There's no reason for you, for residential MLSs, to be searching for properties based on the demographics of who lives in an area. However, for commercial real estate, for commercial businesses, You need to have access to that data. It is very important for that business to succeed. You know, whether it is, you know, ethnic food places, which anybody can eat any kind of food, but certain kinds of food are more likely to be for certain demographics, depending on what kind of food it is, right? I mean, other than pizza and Chinese food, you know, those Italian restaurants and Chinese food, everybody eats those things. So those you don't have as much of a problem with, you know, but some of the more obscure, you know, or ethnic foods, you probably want to have those restaurants in an area where there's a higher population of that segment of the demographic if you want to have a successful business anyway. All right. So this is what the kind of information that's available in these commercial MLSs. And you could actually search the data. You could draw, you could either say, have it draw a circle automatically from a point that you click on the map, and then put in all the information, the demographical information that you want to search by. Or you could draw a weird shape on a map even and say within this area, and it'll tell you what the demographics are there, what the traffic counts are on roads, relationship status, ethnicity, people's religions, whether they're owner occupants or renters, all kinds of information is there. Any of that, though, if it was in the residential MLSs, that would be discriminatory. So that's why it's not available there. And that's why residential MLSs that are primarily residential, they are a lot cheaper than these commercial MLSs because they don't have all that additional data that you could search by. But you could still put the listings in there and market them. Okay. Everybody got good? Anybody got questions about any of those MLSs? No? Okay. So we already went over this. Let's just do the highlights on it now pertaining to the home warranties. Any advertisement that refers to a home warranty, you know, additional information may be wanted to be known by potential buyers. Well, you got to fully disclose, you know, is the warranty mandatory? Who's purchasing it? How long is it? Who's the warranty company? What does it cover? You know, all that good stuff. And any ad offering a rebate to purchase a residential property must disclose the buyer's obligation to pay any applicable taxes. Okay, any ad offering a rebate to purchase residential property. You have to disclose that they should consult with a tax professional in regards of receiving that rebate because they may have to pay income taxes on that money. Okay. All right. Regulation Z. You'll get this on exam, sometimes by name, sometimes not by name. You need to understand it and know what it is because you will always get it on school exam and state exam. You'll get questions about Regulation Z. What is Regulation Z? Well, it requires full disclosure and truth in advertising when talking about financing in an advertisement. Okay. So Regulation Z states an ad may not indiscriminately promise financing to everyone who sees your ad that talks about financing. You have to qualify it with words like to a qualified buyer or to those who qualify. Narrow down who you're offering it to a little bit. Okay. So another way that they say that on exams, the way they word that is you may not indiscriminately promise financing in an ad. You must discriminate when offering financing in an ad. You have to say to those who qualify or to a qualified buyer. Otherwise, people will be like, oh, you could get the financing at this interest rate with this payment? Oh, great, because I seen that ad, I could get it. And then you go in, you can't get it. And then they're like, oh, false advertising. Well, no, to those who qualify. Okay, so you got to discriminate and narrow it down a little bit and say no to those who qualify. Okay. Now let's get into it a little bit further. The next slides will get into Regulation Z a little bit deeper. Now, keep in mind, Regulation Z does not only apply to real estate financing. You guys ever see commercials on TV? Doesn't matter if it's for a car, if you're buying a set of pots and pans or a vacuum cleaner. If it says, you know, you could purchase this with 3 easy payments of, or 4 easy payments of, you know, well, they're talking about financing, and Regulation Z kicks in. It's a federal law that deals with truth in advertising when offering financing to the public. Okay, so here's a custom slide I made up. I highly suggest you snap a picture of this one or take a screenshot of it or whatever. These are all the notes. This is everything you need to know about Regulation Z. Because then the next couple slides, we're going to go fast forward to that much later chapter that talks about it, and it's spread across like 5 pages. A highlight here, a highlight there, and then it's still a little disjointed and doesn't paint a clear picture like I do right here. So, what is Regulation Z? It's a federal law that implements TILA. TILA is the Truth in Lending Act. It requires full disclosure when talking about financing in an advertisement when certain triggering terms are used. Okay, so what's a triggering term? Those are words that you put in an ad that would trigger the full disclosure requirement. So, triggering terms are if in an advertisement you mention an interest rate, a payment amount, a down payment amount, or the number of payments, the term. Now full disclosure is required. You have to, so what is full disclosure? You have to discriminate. You have to say to those who qualify or to a qualified buyer. Either one of those phrases must be used. And in addition to that, you also have to disclose the APR, that's the annual percentage rate, which is different than the advertised interest rate, the down payment amount, if one is required, and the term, the number of payments. All right, if you do not follow these rules, penalties for violating an administrative order of Regulation Z is $10,000, not up to. It is $10,000 fine for every day that advertisement is out there in the public domain where people can see it. I don't know. There's most real estate magazines that I'm aware of are a month long. I think I may know 1 or 2 that are for 2 weeks. So let's see, 2 weeks, 14 days, $10,000 a day. Those fines can add up real quick, right? So is there any reason whatsoever you should even be talking about financing? You're going to be real estate salespeople. We're not offering the financing to people. But sometimes salespeople decide they want to get creative. And instead of telling people and advertising what the sale price is, they say, get into this house for as little as this monthly payment. You know, and if you're going to start doing that, well, a monthly payment amount, that's a triggering term. You need to follow Regulation Z. Got it? So that's why I want to go over these with you and give you these. Hopefully these instructions on this slide are comprehensive enough for you and easy enough for you to understand and follow. I mean, it's not rocket science, but in the book, if you just follow what's in the book, it's disjointed. It's all over. You got a highlighted line here, there, and you got to piece it together. What does it mean? All right, this is a little clearer the way I put it together. Now, Regulation Z does not apply to business or commercial loans, cash transactions, reverse mortgages, land loans with removable dwellings, you know, mobile homes. Okay. So the fine for violating that order of Regulation Z is $10,000 a day, every day that violation continues to be out in the public domain, plus any attorney fees that somebody may incur to go after you. Every day the ad is in the public domain. Okay, and willful violation is a misdemeanor if you just put it out there because you don't care. And That's an additional $5,000 fine and up to a year in prison for it too. Now, I told you guys APR is different than an interest rate. Let me clarify that. You guys see commercials all the time on TV, you know, of interest rates for whatever is being offered financing for. Let's just say it's a house, okay? Keep it related. The interest rates that mortgage companies advertise, most people probably cannot get, right? Those are the interest rates for those with perfect credit scores, impeccable, record of paying their bills on time, and perfect credit scores, top tier borrowers. Okay. Now, the interest rate that they advertise, okay, that does not include all the costs. If you were to include all the costs incurred of obtaining financing, like sometimes there's an application fee in order to get a loan, or there's you need to pay to get an appraisal in order to get a loan, right? You're the one that pays for the appraisal. The buyer pays for the appraisal. If you were to include all those one-time, non-reoccurring fees, those costs, into the interest rate, it actually bumps up the interest rate just a smidgen, just a little bit. That's why the APR is always a little bit higher than any advertised interest rate. So the APR includes, it has factored in all those one-time, non-reoccurring costs associated with getting the loan, factored in over the life of the loan, then broken down to the annual to see how it would affect the interest rate. And that's what APR stands for, the annual percentage rate. It's some complicated math that the financiers do. We don't need to do that. Okay. And if you're talking about financing in an ad, though, you need to get them to do it for you, and you better make sure these loans actually exist. You can't advertise, these scenarios. You could get into this house at this interest rate and that when it's not even available in the market at any given time. Okay, it has to be real. Everybody has a screenshot of this that wanted one? Is that a yes? You guys aren't even nodding your heads. Come on, somebody unmute yourselves and say, yeah, I got it, Vic.
We got it.
Don't put me to sleep.
I got it.
Thank you. Don't put me to sleep. I didn't go to bed till 4 o'clock in the morning, so this is going to be a struggle. I'm trying to keep my energy up here for you guys all day. You guys seem like you're more tired than me. What did you do? Was there a party last night or something everybody went to? I wasn't invited to. All right.
I went kickboxing.
Kickboxing. Woo! Yeah, you got tired out, huh? Or is that get your energy up there? I was watching videos of kickboxing. Actually, it was about people who challenged professional fighters and got their butts kicked. That's what I was watching. Anyway, I was watching some YouTube videos last night. Okay, so here, Regulation Z on page 291. This is a much later chapter, but let's go highlight the stuff pertaining to Regulation Z right now. Get it out of the way since we just went over Regulation Z. Even though you're going to see that Regulation Z slide in a couple other chapters as well, I'll bring it up again. But I'm introducing it to you way earlier because this is like the last chapter in the book. So, Truth in Lending Act is implemented by Regulation Z. It does not apply to cash transactions or business or commercial loans. Okay. So, Regulation Z requires creditors to inform consumers of the true cost of obtaining credit, so they could compare the cost of loans from various lenders and avoid the uninformed use of credit. All real estate transactions made for personal or agricultural loans that are financed are covered. Regulation Z requires that the borrower be fully informed about all the finance charges. The rules do not apply to home equity lines of credit. We call those HELOC loans. Reverse mortgages, which are given to senior citizens, are land loans that are secured by movable dwellings that are not attached to a foundation permanently. Okay, now this is something a little bit different, but since we're already here, you might as well highlight it now anyway. We're not going to go over it right this moment, but we could highlight this thing about TRIG, which is required by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, this booklet. It needs to be given to the consumers when they apply for loans. It's called the Your Home Loan Toolkit. It must be given within 3 business days of any loan application to the borrower. It also requires delivery or mailing of early disclosures about the proposed loan within 3 business days of a completed loan application. Until the disclosure's been made, the lender cannot charge any fees except for a credit report. And a loan application is considered complete when the prospective borrowers provide, well, when the aliens are present. That's an acronym for this. When they provide their address of the property, that's A. The loan amount requested, L. The income of all the borrowers, I. Their estimated property value of the property that they're purchasing, that's E. The names of all the borrowers, N, and their social security numbers, S. So when the aliens have landed and all that information's been provided to the creditor, then the loan application is considered complete and they can start charging fees. That's on the top of page 292. Okay. So stay there. Page 292 as well. Let's highlight 3-day right of rescission, and right next to that only applies to refinancing. Because there is no rescission period for purchase money mortgages. Those are any loans used to buy real estate. So this right of rescission does not apply to residential purchase money first mortgage loan. And what is a purchase money mortgage? Read it backwards, mortgage, money to purchase. That includes any loan, including seller financing, to buy and acquire real estate. And then down here, we'll just highlight Regulation Z applies to credit advertising if any one of the following triggering terms are used. And this is the list that they put together. So just put a highlight next to that and then draw an arrow. And that arrow is going to then point to some examples of these. Okay, so this shows, the amount or percentage rate, number of payment periods, the terms, any payment, amount of payment, and down any finance charges, amount of any finance charges. Okay. I think I worded mine a little bit clearer to understand it a little bit better, what it is that you need to disclose on my slide. All right, just tell me when you got it. Just say, somebody unmute yourself, say got it. Once you've got all these notes and highlights. Okay?
Got it.
So then on 293, that arrow, it's going to come down here to the second bullet point that says these are some examples of those triggering terms being used in an ad. It would be wordings like this: 30-year loan available. Yeah, because you're talking about the term. Payment of $1,432, including principal and interest. Well, you're talking about a payment amount. Only 5% down. You're mentioning a down payment amount, right? So those are all triggering terms. See, if you use wording like these down here, these would not be considered triggering terms. This is. So these are just giving you examples. All right. Oh, you guys need a little longer there? Everybody get that? And then on page 293 as well, the penalties. Let's highlight the penalties for Regulation Z. And you're basically highlighting the second sentence and the last sentence on that section. The penalty is $10,000 each day, the violations in the public domain. And willful violations a misdemeanor crime, punishable by $5,000 and up to a year in prison or both. Jeez. These days, you can mug somebody and rob them or steal up to, what is it, $900 or $1,000 worth of stuff out of a store, and you don't get, oh, in some states anyway, and you don't get that much prison time. Hell, you don't get any. But you advertise about not following the Regulation Z rules, hefty fines and jail.
I have a question. For the terms that would not trigger the disclosure, one of them says assume 5% annual percentage rate loan. Why wouldn't that trigger the disclosure?
Because that's an APR. It's not the interest rate, it's the annual percentage rate, the APR. And you're assuming it, that it's, you're not getting a loan. You're just taking over somebody's existing loan.
Oh, okay.
So you don't have anybody can get it. If you could just assume somebody's loan, that means you're just taking over their loan payments. Now keep in mind, older loans you could do that for. Newer loans that are assumable, the borrower still needs to qualify for them, generally.
So should we still have the disclosure since they need to qualify?
Well, we don't know if it's an older loan that they don't need to qualify or they do. So
But if it's a newer one,
don't overthink it. They're not going to get that deep into it.
okay.
Okay. Okay, everybody got these highlights? All right, and so here's that slide again with all of the rules once again for Regulation Z. If you didn't get it before, you may want to snag it now. All right. So let's talk about advertising. Let's continue moving on here so we don't delay any further. No advertising or sign may indicate that a property had been sold until title has passed to the buyer by delivery and acceptance of the deed itself. That's a short sentence, but there's a lot to unravel there. So basically, you ever see a for sale sign in someone's front lawn? They got that sign rider on it that says sold. Anybody ever see that? Probably should not have been there. Why? Because if I sold you a property and we closed on it, now it is sold. It's not considered sold until we've gone to the closing table, everything's been finalized, and you are now the new owner of the property. But if you ever see for sale signs that have the sold sign rider on it for weeks or months at end, if I sold you a house and you just bought a house, are you going to leave the for sale sign on your front lawn for weeks or months on end? No, you're going to rip it right out of the ground. It's probably the first thing you're going to do, right? Agents may do this, they slap that sold sign rider on there as soon as they get an offer, because especially if it's their own offer, because they're getting both ends of the transaction now from the seller and the buyer, double the commission, one deal, sweet deal. So they try to dissuade others from expressing interest and wanting to see it, or maybe making their own offers on the property still, by slapping a sold sign on there. when in fact it has not yet closed. Not supposed to do that. That's false advertising. They could get in trouble for putting that up on there when it has not sold yet. Now, when is a property considered sold? It says when title has passed to the buyer. All right. You all know when you own a car, the title, that's your proof of ownership of the car, right? Your title, that's your paperwork. In real estate, there is no document called title. It's just a word that means ownership. But there's no paperwork. There's no document that's actually called title. It's just a word that means ownership. Okay? So if we continue reading, it says, and so title has passed to the buyer by delivery and acceptance of the deed. Oh, the deed is actually the paperwork that's used in real estate to transfer the ownership of real estate. But check this out. Unlike with a car where you got the paperwork is called title and you transfer that paperwork to someone else, a deed is not proof of ownership. It's just a document that's used to transfer ownership. So anybody that's buying property that receives a deed, they should first ascertain if that person who's giving you the deed has the right of ownership in that real property to transfer to you to begin with. I could fill out a blank deed. I got on my computer. I could fill out a blank deed for your house right now. Does that mean that I have the right to sell your house? No. I don't have any ownership interest in your property. But so that just shows you that anybody can fill out a deed to your house. It doesn't mean they have the right to sell it. So this is why we do what's called a title search as part of the real estate transaction. The attorneys usually order it, but the real estate agent or the buyer could themselves. Basically, they buy title insurance. They go to an insurance company and they purchase title insurance. But before the insurance company issues that insurance policy, they do what's known as a title search. What does title mean again?
Ownership.
It means ownership. So a title search is a search of the ownership records and documents that could be found in the county records at the county courthouse. That's where they keep all the records for all the ownership documents for all the real estate that's in that county, in all those municipalities. It's not at your city hall. It's at the county level, the county courthouse. That's why there's so many sheriff's officers there, such a large police presence. They have the courts going on, but they also have all of those very important documents of ownership records of real estate there. All right, they got a big library of that. So the you search the public records at the county hall of records and make sure that person that's selling you the property is in fact the person who owns it and has the rights to sell it and transfer it to you. Wouldn't you want to make sure if somebody's selling you the car that they're actually the owner of the car, not somebody who just stole it? You're not sure? Maybe. Depends on the car. What's going on? Okay, so I mean, it's the same thing with real estate. You want to make sure that that person is the actual owner of the actual owner of the real estate before you buy it from them and give them money for it, right? Right? Okay, so you don't have to advertise the status of listings in ads. Oh, okay. Actually, so you guys could, this is on page 21. Highlight this. No advertising or sign may indicate a property sold until title. Underline the word title and write page 383 under that. All right. And on the coming slides, we're actually going to go and talk. We're actually going to go there, 383, and we're going to discuss title or do some highlights there about title and deeds. But before we do, that's on the next slide. Let's just finish going through the slide here, so I'm not bouncing back and forth. Okay. You don't have to advertise the status of listings in ads or on real estate signs. However, if you choose to do this by putting a sign rider on top of the sign that says sold or whatever, the status needs to be accurate. So sold transactions means that title, that ownership had transferred. You've already done the closing and there's a new owner on the property. You don't put up that sold sign before then. Under contract is when a buyer makes an offer in writing. It's presented to the seller accepts it. It goes to their attorneys now for attorney review. The attorneys make any changes or negotiations, and then they complete attorney review. And now you are in a legally binding contract. You are what's called under contract. Okay, so that's what under contract means. It's a very specific meaning. It means you're now in a legally binding contract with the other party to the transaction. Now, we used to have sign riders that said, instead of under contract, it said sale pending or pending sale. The Real Estate Commission advised us years ago to throw those away, but they still sell them online for some reason. I guess maybe some states it's still legal to use them, not in New Jersey. The Real Estate Commission does not want you to use sale pending or pending sale sign riders. Why? Because it's too subjective. What does that mean, sale pending? I could just get a listing, and the first day of the listing, I could put up a sign rider there, sale pending. Yeah, pending that a buyer comes in and makes an offer that's acceptable to the seller. I mean, what the hell does that mean, sale pending, right? So it's too subjective, so we can't use it. Under contract, we know what that means. Contract's been accepted, went through attorney review, you're now in a legally binding contract, you're under contract. That's what that means. Coming soon is nothing more than a delayed showing. And I've already gone over that with you a little bit earlier. And here's that coming soon or delayed showing form that MLSs require you to use. It basically says it's just a delayed showing. You cannot delay the showing more than 10 days. If you need more time, you can just submit this form again for another 10 days, up to another 10 days. And then if the showing's available before then, you could submit this, a new form showing a newer showing date is available sooner, okay? So that then you could start showing it. And the other public, all the other agents in the MLS can now see that that listing is available for them to show to their clients as well. All right, so let's get back to that word title again. You know, I put these, you know, my OCD, I don't have OCD. I just blame it on that, play fun with it a little bit. You know, my OCD won't let me get past the word title because I mentioned the word title. I have to explain it to you. So I told you the word title just means ownership. There's no document in real estate called title. Okay. Now, the deed, that is the document we use to transfer ownership of real estate. It's not just used to transfer the ownership of real estate. It could be used to transfer one's partial ownership interest. If you're an owner with others, you could just transfer your ownership interest or your rights to the property. Maybe you have mineral rights to the minerals that are in the ground, or you have air rights or subsurface rights. And that could be the space under the ground or the minerals in the ground. So how do we transfer those? Well, with a deed as well. Okay. Now, we're not going over just yet the different types of deeds there are out there. That's another subject altogether. Right now, we're just going over the word deed. The deed is a document used to transfer one's ownership or rights or interests in a property. So here's one way of saying that. Deed is a document used to transfer ownership, but is not proof of ownership. Another way to say the same exact thing and sound more learned is a deed is an instrument used to convey title, but not evidence of title. Which one sounds more professional, like you really know what you're talking about? like you're in the biz, right? So that second one right there, right? So look, just take a look. I got them right next to each other. Instrument is another word for document. Convey is another word for transfer. Evidence is another word for proof. And title is another word for ownership. You see how I got those words underlined right next to each other? You can see that those are the definitions. But which one sounds more professional? Instrument, convey, evidence, title. It sounds more professional than document, transfer, proof, or ownership. I mean, that's simple to understand, but you know which one they're going to use on exams, right? You know, you already know which words they're going to use on exams, right? The ones that you probably don't use so often, the instrument, convey, evidence, and title. Okay. Now, ownership is transferred upon delivery and acceptance of the deed itself, but documents, which does not need to be signed or dated by the buyer, unless and until the buyer decides they want to record it in the public records down at the county courthouse. What does it mean to record a document in the public records? It just means to add it to the public records. Okay. Another fancy word. Recording an instrument, recording a document, filing a document in the public records. There you go. It's another way of saying that. And then their signature needs to be acknowledged. Another fancy word for you. Now, you've all heard the word acknowledge before. Acknowledge that you can hear my voice. All right? That's an acknowledgement, right? So, an acknowledgement here in real estate, what we're talking about, before you sign a document, someone check your ID to verify you are who you say you are. Okay. Another interesting thing. It's actually going on right now in politics, right? We have this SAVE Act going up for a vote. The SAVE Act is you having to show ID to show that you are a citizen before you actually vote. Because, you know, voting is only a right reserved for citizens, American citizens. So, isn't it interesting how you have people fighting against that? A very sacred right, too, to vote. But yet, it's a requirement for you to show your ID before you could record your ownership documents or any documents in the public records down at the county hall, the county courthouse.
I had to show my ID when I registered to vote. I'm confused when people say that.
When you go, yeah, but when you go vote, do you?
I mean, I'm already registered, and I had to show my citizenship and my documents to register.
Okay. Okay. Well, the thing is, they want to show ID to vote because over the years, recent years, a lot of interesting stuff has happened. You know, when the borders are open and they weren't actually securing the borders and just, you know, letting people flood in over the borders, what happened was they were fighting, hey, these people, they need to work. We got to give them some kind of temporary work ID to work. What about driving? Okay, we could give them an ID or a driver's license even. And then we had some politicians in some states like New Jersey that decided, hey, if we're going to give you know what we should do is anytime somebody registers for an ID or to vote or to drive, we automatically register them to vote. Yeah, that's assuming that those people were here legally in the United States to begin with. So what's happening is you had all these people that came in, they may not even realize that they were registered to vote. Or they see the paperwork and they think that they could vote now because they don't know all of our laws. These are like little tricks that politicians do to get more people to go out and vote, even though they're not legally allowed to. You follow? So legislation is being passed. There's a lot of outrage about this, and a lot of people are saying, listen, voting is a sacred right for the citizens of whatever country it is. you know? So we should protect that and preserve that right. Otherwise, you could have people flooding in that don't have the same values as us or purpose. Maybe they want to push communism, or in other words, socialism. You're hearing that going on a lot right now too. And so they're getting people that they want to do that. But the ironic thing is, you're getting a lot of people that do come from socialist countries. They're against it. Look at all the Cubans. You know, they would never vote for a socialist because they know they came from that. But anyway, I'm talking about this because we're just talking about the ID. You brought up the question about ID, and we're getting too deep into that. Sorry about that. But yeah, that's why you would people will automatically register to vote when issued an ID. So this is why it's becoming an issue now, where they want to make it a law that you got to show your ID to vote. But it shouldn't be a big deal, you know. And you got a lot of people, politicians out there lying about what they actually have to show in order to vote. And they're like, oh, well, women won't be able to figure out how to vote because they don't have IDs, you know. That's like the
No, it's not that. It's that your ID has to match your birth certificate, and some women are married. So, and then some people are adopted. There's a lot of complications
so
with
what? When you
that.
get married, you change your IDs, right? You change your names, you get a new driver's license,
Yeah,
right?
and then you can't change your birth certificate. That's the issue.
You don't need to. You don't need to. You can show your driver's license, which gets updated. You know, that's why we got the real IDs now. You know, and you also have that's like an excuse that they were giving just a couple of years ago as well. That what do you call it? Showing an ID to vote. It used to be. See, they're giving new excuses now. Previously, they were like, "This will prevent black people from voting." Huh? What? Black people don't got IDs? You know? Oh, well, they may not know how to get them. What? That's the most racist thing I've ever heard. Or we may not be able to get down to the DMV or know what it is. What are you talking about? Black people drive, they got driver's licenses. That's the dumbest, it's the most racist argument that I've ever heard. So because of those arguments sounding so stupid, they came up with new arguments. Okay. And that's all that this is. Yeah, look at the legislation and see what it actually says. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about voting. I'm here to talk about acknowledgement. And acknowledgement is verifying who you are before you can record a document in the public records. So basically, you have to appear before a notary public, show them your ID. They look at you. That's you. Okay. And then they notarize the document. An acknowledgement can be taken by a notary, an attorney, a judge, or a trusted public official, which is basically an elected politician. Go figure. And basically, they're certifying that they either know you or they've checked your ID and certified who you are. That's what an acknowledgement is, before any document can be added to the public records. Okay? So we unpacked a lot right there. So that's what recording a document is. It's adding it to the public records, but before a document can be added to the public records, your signature needs to be acknowledged to verify you are in fact the person who owns the property that is adding these documents to the public records. Otherwise, you get companies like these Norton Title Lock. They sell title insurance because title theft and all this. But listen, you don't need that here in New Jersey. We have I don't know how maybe some other states operate that's not as secure, but here in New Jersey, before you record a document in a public record, you got to show your IDs. They got to verify who it is that you say you are. You have to, you will also get a letter that's sent in the mail to your house, so nobody just goes down there with some fake documents and fake IDs and stuff. You'll also have a document mailed to your house showing you that the title work is being changed. You know, it's more involved than just going down and faking some paperwork to steal the ownership of your real estate. Okay. But you see the commercials on TV all the time pushing that title lock, right? The title, preventing people from stealing your home ownership, right? By switching the names in the public records. Okay, so recording a document, once again, is adding it to the public records in the county hall of records where all the ownership of the documents and records are kept. So why do we record documents in the public record? Oh, that's another question. Why do we record documents in the public record? Well, to put the world on notice of our interest in that property. Hey, I'm the new owner, right? You want to let the world know I'm the owner of this real estate right now. It's important to record that. Is it required by law? No, it's not. Not New Jersey. Some states it is, not in New Jersey. You don't have to record your ownership interest. However, it's not in your best interest if you don't. Let me explain why. Let's pretend that this piece of paper is a deed. Let's pretend that this piece of paper here I hold in my hand is a deed. And I sign the deed over to you. Your name is on the deed because the buyer's name has to be put on the deed and the real estate that they're selling or whatever they're transferring. Okay, so now your name is on the deed. I'm the seller. I sign the deed. I give you that deed. At the moment of delivery and acceptance of the actual paperwork, the deed, you now become the owner. All right. So, did you record it in the public records yet? No. But you're the owner. So you don't have to record it in the public records, but you're the owner. So let's just say that I'm not such a upstanding guy, okay? And later on that same day, one of you other people in class, I make another copy of this deed with their name on it. And I sign it. And I give it to them. Who's the owner? I signed out a deed with two different people's names on the different deeds. The same day, I signed over a deed to two different people. Who's the owner? The race is on. Whoever records it in the public records first is the owner. The other one has to find me. But by then, I'll be sipping margaritas on some island, some tropical island somewhere on the beach. So, yeah, this is why it's important to record your interest. Let me give you some more reasons why. If I'm the seller, this is why it's important for the seller to record, to make sure that the new buyer, the new owner records their interest, that they're now the owner. If somebody trips and falls on the property, who are they going to sue? The person who's listed as the owner in the public records. Okay, so why would the new owner want to make sure that their ownership records are recorded? Well, just to make sure, like that example that I gave, where they don't sell the deed to have someone else sign the deed too, and now could be a question of who's the owner. There could be other reasons too, but those are some of the major ones. All right. Slides. Interesting stuff about how real estate gets transferred out, right? Especially if you're hearing it for the first time. The recording of documents. A deed is the document that's used to transfer the ownership, but it's not proof of ownership. How do you know that I'm the owner of the property and I have the legal right to sell it to you to begin with? Good question. Here are 4 evidences of title. Ooh, that sounds like the type of wording they use on exams. Another way to say that in plain English is, what are the 4 proofs of ownership? An abstract of title with attorney's opinion. Okay, well, what is an abstract? Ooh, another word we're going to be learning in a much later chapter, but I'll explain it right now. So if you want to write down definitions, you can. What is an abstract? Well, does everybody here drive a car? Everybody here got a driver's license and drive a car, or ever did, right? When you go to get insurance, you got insurance on your cars, right? when you go to get insurance, does the insurance company first pull up an abstract of your driving record? Okay, now based on that statement, What is an abstract? It's a history of your
Record.
driving record, right? So an abstract of title, what is title? A word that means ownership, the ownership of the real estate. So an abstract of title is a history, a record, a condensed history of all the ownership records pertaining to the ownership of that real estate that can be found in the public records. That's what an abstract of title is. So there's somebody that has a job, they're actually an abstractor. Their job is to go down to the County Hall of Records, search the public records, make a list of all the documents in chronological order as they were recorded in the public records according to date. And they make this list of all those documents. Then they turn it over to an attorney. An attorney reviews that list, examines it, and sees whether you have good, clear title and ownership or not. And then they render their opinion of title. You have good title. Okay, so an abstractor went down, did the research, an attorney reviewed the documents, and then rendered their decision if you got good, clear ownership or not. But they're just giving an opinion. If the attorney screws up, you got to sue them. Good luck with that. If the abstractor screwed up, well, they do carry a type of errors and omissions insurance that they got coverage. But once again, it's a hassle. But anyway, that's one of the proofs of ownership. Another proof of ownership is a certificate of title, where an attorney, this happens in more rural locales, where an attorney may go down and search the public records themselves. And then they say, you got good title. You got good, clear title. Verbal, it's not even in writing usually. That's a proof of ownership. Who would rely on that? A lender. Often before a lender calls up an attorney before closing to authorize them to release the funds to do the closing of the purchase there, they want to first ascertain whether they've ensured proof of ownership, that the owner that's selling it has good, clear title. And an attorney says, yeah, I checked the public records. They're good. We got good, clear title. That's a certificate of title where they're certifying it verbally over the phone with the lender, who probably records that conversation. Okay. I wouldn't want to rely on that as evidence of title. What about you? An attorney's word. A title insurance policy. This is the most common type of proof of ownership and probably the best type of proof of ownership here in New Jersey. Title insurance companies have abstractors on their staff. They go down, they search the public records a minimum of 60 years, but they search back as far as record keeping began, that they have those records available to make sure that in the past there has never been any improper transfer of the ownership of the real estate from one owner to the next since we became a country here back in 1776 or even before then, where they started granting land ownership and kept records of it. All right, so that's all down in the County Hall of Records. Okay, so a title company can go down and they search back as far as they can, making sure that there were never any improper transfers of ownership between people. Make sure that all the owners that were owners signed deeds when they were transferring the ownership. If one wasn't there to sign, and because they died, you need some kind of document showing, you were left that property in a will, and so that's your property. You need to have some kind of evidence that the property is yours and was given to you, granted to you somehow, whether by a deed or by a will. Somebody's last will and testament. So you need to be able to trace it with documents to prove it. And if there's ever an improper transfer where that cannot be proven, or somebody didn't record their deed in the public records, that's known as a break or a gap in the chain of title, that could be a problem, and we need to clear it up. That if you cannot prove that and not link one owner to the next, This creates what's known as a cloud on the title. When I say cloud on the title, think of a dark thunderstorm cloud hovering over your house. If you were to go buy a house and there was a dark thunderstorm cloud always hovering over it, would you think that's creepy? There's a problem here? Right? Would you want to clear up that problem before you actually bought it? Find out what that problem is? Okay. So anytime you guys hear that word, that term, cloud on a title, think of a dark thunderstorm cloud hovering just over the title, the ownership of that particular real estate. That's an indication there's a problem with the ownership of that real estate. That's what cloud on the title means. Okay. And it can be cleared up in different ways, but it needs to be cleared up. All right. So there are two types of title insurance policies. Once they've researched and they did their abstract and they did their research and they could say you got good, clear title, there's no outstanding loans on the property that have not been cleared up and paid off, there's no improper transfers between parties throughout history records that we could see, then the title insurance company will issue you an insurance policy, insuring you against loss should somebody step forward and claim that they're the rightful owner of the property and are able to prove it. And that would force you to have to turn over the ownership to them. So this insurance policy would reimburse you for any money you put out into that property. Well, what about my outstanding loan on the property? Well, that's why there's two policies. There's a buyer's policy that covers the buyer and any money that they put out. And there's a lender's policy that would pay off any balance of a loan that was used to buy that property. Okay? That's how title insurance works. And that's probably the best type of proof of ownership. And then lastly, there's the Torrens certificate. However, we do not use these here in New Jersey, but you still need to know that it is one of the 4 evidences of title. So one of the 4 proofs of ownership. Some states have what's known as a Torrens system. A Torrens system is one where there's a central hall of record keeping. You know how we have 21 of them, 1 in each county? Well, they have a Torrens system where there is a central hall of record keeping, and anytime there's a transfer of ownership, it must be recorded in the public records. New Jersey doesn't have to be. Other states, it must. So that's a Torrens certificate. It gets recorded in the public records of who is the owner of the property. Okay, we don't use that here in New Jersey. All right, so if you guys want to snap a picture of this slide explaining title, deed, recording, acknowledgement, and the 4 evidences of title, it'd be a wise thing to do before I switch the slide. All right, I'll change the slide. You need a second? Tell me, otherwise I'm changing. Okay, so here on page 357 in the back of the book there, a deed is a written instrument which an owner of real estate intentionally conveys their right, title, or interest in a parcel of real estate. Oh, by the way, deeds always have to be in writing. And the owner who sells or gives the land is referred to as the grantor. They're granting their ownership to someone else who will be the new owner. The new owner is called the grantee. Okay, so how do we transfer ownership? By grant. The grantor is the seller who gives the property to somebody, and the grantee is the one who receives that property. Okay? And a deed is executed. The word executed means signed in real estate by the grantor. Do buyers, the grantee, have to sign deeds? When does a grantee have to sign a deed? Only if they're recording it in the public records. And their signatures need to be acknowledged. They need to show their ID. prove who they are before they can record a document in the public record. So it's an important thing. That's why you need to show ID and prove who you are. Now, these are the 4 types of deeds that are commonly used in New Jersey, from those that offer the most protection to the buyer to those that offer the least. We have a full covenant and warranty deed, also known as a general warranty deed. A bargain and sale deed with covenants against grantors acts. Sometimes the covenants versus grantors acts is abbreviated by saying CVG or CAG. Covenants versus grantors or covenants against grantors. CAG or CVG. So it would be a bargain and sale CAG deed. Or you could have a bargain and sale deed without any covenants. What is a covenant? Well, it's a legal promise. These are the legal promises that the seller makes to the buyer when they're as to the quality of the ownership that they're giving them. So in a straight bargain and sale deed that has no covenants, it's just bargain and sale. It doesn't say CAG or CVG after it. Those types of deeds, the owner is just saying, I have the legal right to sell the property. I'm not giving you any other guarantees as to the quality of the title. And then lastly, there's a quitclaim deed, which anyone who signs a quitclaim deed is giving up their rights of any interest that they may have in the property without saying that they do have any interest in the property. They're not even making the claim that they're the owner. By signing a quitclaim deed, you're just quitting the claim of interest in that property. Kind of like the miners in the olden days, the gold miners, right? They say, this claim run, I'm quitting this claim. And they could sell that mine to somebody else by just signing a quitclaim deed. I'm quitting any interest I got in this property. Giving it to you. Boom, sign a quitclaim deed. A quitclaim deed can just as effectively transfer ownership by the owner, if you are the actual owner, when you sign a quitclaim deed, transferring that ownership to somebody, as a full warranty deed would. However, a quitclaim deed isn't even saying that you're the owner or you have any rights in it. You're just giving up any rights. Often this is used to clear up clouds on titles, or to do simple transfers within family or during divorce settlements. Let me know when you guys got those highlights and notes written down there. Hey, everybody got it? You got to say something, because most of you, I don't even see you on camera. I'm seeing a lot of ceilings and people's dogs and their names, and I see a wall in the corner. Not even seeing you guys on camera. All right. Now the next page, 383, chain of title. Chain of title. Think of a chain. A chain has many links in it, right? And these links are connected. Each owner, think of each owner of real estate as a link in the chain. And if you can trace the ownership by searching the public records, you could link one owner to the next. Now you're creating a chain by putting those links together, right? There are many links in a chain. There are many owners, previous owners of real estate throughout history. So if you could link one owner to the next, you're now creating a chain of title. Title means ownership. Linking one owner to the next, that's a chain of title. So that you guys have better understanding of the terminology, trying to give you some visuals there. If you cannot link one owner to the next through the documents in the public record, this is known as a break or a gap in the chain of title. And this can commonly be cured by having somebody sign a quitclaim deed. or going before a judge and producing all the evidence that you are now the owner. This is known as a suit to quiet title. Quiet title. Quiet ownership. Yes, it's a lawsuit to quiet the rumblings of anybody that may claim ownership in the future. Okay, that's what a suit to quiet title. And then when dealing with the owner of real estate, a purchaser or lender requires satisfactory proof that the seller is the owner and they have good title to the property to begin with. So this documentary proof is called an evidence of title. And we already went over those 4 evidences of title, but here in the book is where you would highlight it. There are 4 generally used forms of title evidence. Put a slash there, then write proof of ownership. And you have the abstract title with attorney's opinion, title insurance, Torrens certificate right next to that, not used in New Jersey. Because you could get a question on exam just like that. Which one of the 4 evidences of title is not used in New Jersey? Torrens certificate. Right? Or a certificate of title. And a deed is not proof of title. Oh, they put a run-on word there. They connected is not. They should have removed the O and put an apostrophe then. Isn't. So we got chain of title. These are terms. Remember I told you there's a lot of terms and definitions on exams, right? Look, chain of title, abstract of title, gap or break in the chain of title, evidence of title. We went over acknowledgement. Everybody got this? Anybody still writing? It's okay if you want. Sorry?
1 second, I'm still
Okay. Okay, just let me know when you're done.
Okay, I'm done.
You good? Everybody's good? Anybody need more time? No? Okay. Back to page 21 then. See, sometimes we skip to later chapters when they mention words here. I like to go over what they mean, go over them a little bit more. All those notes that just took us about 20 minutes or so to go over, that was all because of one word, title. Right? That all stems from title. What is title? Ownership. Is there a document in real estate called title? No.
Nope.
Well, so what's the document we use to transfer title?
Deed.
A deed. But a deed is not evidence of title. You guys recall what the 4 evidences of title are that we just went over? Like literally just went over? Abstract of title with attorney's opinion. Certificate of title. Title insurance policy. And the one that we don't use in New Jersey, Torrens certificate. Okay. See, that's why I ask you guys questions right after we go over things, just to make sure you're getting it or paying attention. All right, on page 21, any offer of a free item or gift must be genuinely free with no strings attached. So can you ever offer anything for free to the public? Sure. But it can't be contingent upon the person doing business with you. You can't be like, oh, you only get the free stuff if you agree to do business with me. Yeah. Now, this is part of Title 45, Chapter 15, the New Jersey Real Estate Licensing Act. However, it was revised in November of 2019 that allows real estate agents, well, actually, it was revised in 2019, and the following amendment was made that addresses free gifts or discounts offered by licensees in November of 2021. This amendment further provided that it will not go into effect until the Real Estate Commission adopts rules to implement the revised statutory provisions. They still haven't done it. We're in 2026 now. So even though the law changed that allows us to give free stuff to people with strings attached, that's only once the Real Estate Commission creates rules on how they're going to implement that system, which they have not yet. So you still cannot offer free stuff to the public with strings attached. So the exam questions are still out there that if you ever offer anything for free to the public, yes, you can, but it cannot be contingent upon anybody doing business with you. Because the Real Estate Commission did not adopt the rules yet, or they didn't put the system in place on how they were going to track that or keep a database of it or implement the rules on how to implement it yet. It's one thing if politicians can pass rules and laws. It's another thing on, well, how do we actually put that into effect? That's enough. That could be another hurdle to overcome. And since they passed this law in 2021, we're in 2026 now, still can't do it. Okay. So we cannot offer free appraisals either. You know why? We're not licensed appraisers. We don't do appraisals. And you're not going to be paying for appraisals for people, are you? If you are, let me know. I'm going to send all my clients to you so that you could pay for their appraisals. Okay. Because remember, it cannot be contingent upon them doing business with you. And if you offer something for free to the public, you have to offer it to everybody for free. So if you're going to be paying for appraisals, let me know. I'm going to send my clients to you to get their free appraisals done when they buy their properties using me. That's how it works. Now, we can offer free CMAs or BPOs. They're similar to appraisals, but they should never be called appraisals because appraising is a profession that requires licensure, and we are not licensed appraisers. We, as real estate agents, we can help people value their properties by doing something called a comparative market analysis, or CMA for short, or one that has a little more math involved. It's a little more advanced. We do them in exchange for a fee for banks when they don't want to get an appraisal. They don't want to spend all the money on an appraisal, but they need a valuation. They will order a BPO from us, a broker's price opinion. That's what that stands for. Okay. So you may want to write that there. This is a paragraph that was removed. It's not in the 18th version book that we have here. Maybe they'll add it in again in the next version. But advertising that offers free appraisals is also prohibited, although offering a comparative market analysis, a CMA, is permissible. And then right after that, or BPO, broker price opinion. So this is not in the current version of the book. If you want to snap a picture of it, do it. Or if you want to write here, we cannot offer free appraisals. We can offer free CMAs or BPOs. Oh. And let me know when everybody has that so that I can move on.
Good.
Okay, everybody good? Anybody still writing? Okay. So offering a free appraisal instead of saying a CMA or pricing analysis is not allowed. We're not licensed appraisers, so we cannot offer free appraisals. We can offer a free CMA or BPO, broker price opinion, but they should never be called appraisals and should never be considered as such. As a matter of fact, any CMA or BPO we do has to have a statement on it like that, a disclosure that says this is not an appraisal and should not be considered as such, which is prepared by a New Jersey licensed licensed or certified appraiser. What we have to put disclosures like that on our CMAs and BPOs. So CMA, we do that for buyers and sellers to help them make offers on properties or determine how much their home is worth before they put it up on the market for sale. So they don't put it at some crazy, ridiculous, overpriced, inflated price, which will never sell. We need to help people determine the value of their homes. That's part of our jobs. We're going to go over how to do that a little bit in this class, but not extensively. That's something your brokers will teach you how to do, but I'm not going to leave it up to your brokers and assume they know how to do it or do a good job at it. They should know how to do it, but there's a lot of agents out there. They're not good at pricing properties. And you could easily see it by looking up their list to sell price ratio. Okay. To see if they're accurately pricing homes. If you want to really learn how to price a home and take a class on how to do this and get good training on how to do it, I'm going to refer you to a class from a group called Ottawa. This is a group of appraisers that put together a class to teach real estate licensees how to value homes, how to value properties, and how to make adjustments for little differences. You know, like if a house has solar panels on it, does it make your house worth more? If so, by how much? If it has an in-ground swimming pool, does that make your house worth more or less, and by how much? How do you come up with these figures? Well, that class goes over all of that for you. We'll touch on some of this stuff in chapter 16, but I highly suggest you take this class. It's less than $100 to take. Tax deductible because it's a business expense, and you get 3 CE credits for it. Okay. You go to Ottawa.com. This is a group of New Jersey appraisers. They used to be out of East Brunswick. I'm not sure where they're out of now, but they are pretty reputable. So let me pull up the link and share it with you here. You should take their CMA workshop. I have no affiliation with them, by the way. I make no money by referring you to them. I don't personally know these people. I've just taken the classes and I highly value them, just like most top producers do. Most of the agents out there probably never heard of this or never even took the class. If you want to be a top producer, you want to learn how to do things right, I highly suggest you take their CMA workshop. And if they don't have them going at any given time, you could take one of their seasonal workshops, which they give during the 4 seasons throughout the year. You got to check their website for schedules. But the CMA workshop and their advanced CMA workshop, you usually buy them together and then take those classes. Okay, there's a resource I gave you for that. Here is the website for the Ottawa group. Bringing clarity to real estate. Yeah. So look, they do real estate consulting, valuation. They help real estate economics and demography, real estate dispute litigation and court cases. They do real estate advising, real estate benefits and stigmas, and they do these workshops for us as well as other people. You want to take a look? Okay, so here's their locations now. They got one in Matawan, Manhattan, Pennsylvania, and Florida. Oh, look at that. So let's just take a look at their client lists for a second. Where is that? Here we go, their client list. Let's see if you've heard of any of these companies here. Here are some companies that they consulted for and did appraisal services for. Here's some of their Fortune 500 companies. You guys ever hear of any of these? Anheuser-Busch, Eli Lilly, the EI DuPont,
Exxon.
Abbott, ExxonMobil, Merck, Nabisco, Schering-Plough, Westinghouse, Time Warner, a lot of big names here. General Motors. Here's some financial institutions that they've done presentations for and such. Okay. I don't know why these calls are coming through my computer here. Yeah, potential spam. Cut off the Bluetooth. There we go. All right. How about some of these? Some of these financial institutions, you probably heard of some of them. Some developers, probably heard of some of these big names. D.R. Horton, Heller Construction, J.S. Hovnanian, they did K. Hovnanian. Centex, architectural groups, builders, investment groups. Oh, here's a bunch of miscellaneous companies: ADP, Bausch and Lomb, Gulf Oil, Frito-Lay, Honeywell, Nabisco, YMCA, Sony, Siemens, Salvation Army, government. Municipalities even see value in the presentations that they give them. Oh, look, my city's up there, Linden. Keensburg, Marlboro, Metuchen. New Jersey's Green Acres program, New Jersey Transit, the state of New Jersey itself. I mean, there's got to be some kind of value. These guys are doing something right. Law firms that they've acted as expert witnesses for, or consultants. Healthcare systems, Barnabas, Clara, JFK, St. Peter's. You know, there's another whole segment here that they did not add to their website for the movie industry. They consulted with Netflix in order for them before they bought that military base to move their studios to New Jersey, or to build a studio here in New Jersey. All right, so I suggest you guys take a class with them. I signed up for them. I do. I actually even pay for a membership, $100 a year. I signed up for this Market Track thing, where you could get discounts on the classes that they give. So I pay $100 a year so I could get access to the Housing Track, Market News, Ask Jeff. He's Jeffrey Ottawa. He's the owner of the company. You could actually ask him questions, like if you have a hard time valuing a property, you could consult with him by email or phone, and he'll help you out. I think that's worth $100. What else we got here? You get event discounts. You get like $10 off on their $99 events. 10 or $20 you get off. But it's highly recommended. I highly recommend their events and workshops. It looks like they have something 2026 mid-market forecast. Members only briefing on the latest trends affecting the New Jersey housing market for the forecast of what's coming up, what's expected to happen in the coming months in New Jersey. July 9th. Are we going to be done by July 9th? When does our class end?
On the 10th.
So that's something I would like to attend between 1 and 2. Unless on that day we could take a late lunch break and then I could sign up and I could go to this. See, the 3.5-month conflict with Iran caused renewed disruptions in the economy and real estate markets as elevated oil prices pushed inflation and interest higher rates. The effects on the housing market have significant with trading spring sales surge failing to materialize with new home sales running behind last year's weak pace. All this may be about to reverse course, however, as reports of a negotiated settlement, the headlines, they give member owner briefings. I wish they recorded these and made them available. I subscribe to this track thing, so I do get the reports. Maybe I could just get the report. But they do give like events like this for members. You could get it for free. Yeah, look, for subscribers, this is a complimentary event. It's a free event. All right, that's that. So any advertisements, go back to the book here on page 21. So we already went over all this stuff. It was broken down in sections. I went over each paragraph separately. Here it's all on one page. Everybody got all these highlights and notes that you see before you on this slide?
Yes.
All right, so continuing down at the bottom of the page here, the recent updates. A real estate salesperson or broker salesperson, if you should want to, for some reason, form an LLC because you don't want your broker to pay you your commission directly, but rather through an LLC that you create. The law has changed and it allows agents to do this. However, you need to have that LLC registered and licensed as well, because your broker can only pay licensed people or entities. So if you're going to do this, you have to pay for your own real estate license to renew every 2 years, plus your LLC's license every 2 years. And I think LLC's, it's $200, but you got to check with the Real Estate Commission's pricing there. So you'd be paying like $300 every 2 years to renew your license instead of $100. And then you could get paid through your LLC. All right, recent updates, New Jersey Real Estate Licensing Act. You cannot use a lottery or games of chance to sell real estate. That's always been the case. In New Jersey, we have the Gaming Commission. They may have a problem with you using those games of chance to sell real estate, to do lotteries or drawings to sell somebody's real estate. In some states, it's legal, and you could probably sell them for way more tickets to sell a property by a lottery, but it's not legal here in New Jersey. And if you ever offer anything for free to the public, it must be genuinely free, no strings attached, not contingent on doing business with that broker. However, new laws allow offering free items with strings attached, but only after the Real Estate Commission creates rules indicating how to do so, which they have not yet done. All right. You know what? I want to reach out to the real estate commission and see what is up with that. So let me snap a picture of this slide here myself and the previous one. And I'm going to reach out to the real estate commission and ask them what's the status on this. Okay, so page 22, this is continued 4515 17 dash 17G. The commission regulations supplementing New Jersey law against discrimination, they specify that no licensee may advertise or in any way express a discriminatory limitation on words or illustrations. And any advertisement that mentions a specific commission rate or amount must also state that in New Jersey, all commissions are negotiable to show that you are not in violation of the Sherman Antitrust Acts, which makes price fixing illegal. And so here's that slide once again about the Sherman Antitrust Act, which makes price fixing and allocation of markets and bid rigging for auctions illegal. Let's go over some signage. This is not on exams. This is just stuff that you may come across in real estate, though. And I don't want you relying on stupid social media posts, which often is fake and false information. You may see you may have seen videos or posts online saying, if you ever see these spray painted signs or actual signs that look like this with a box or a box with a line or an X through it, those are a bunch of racist signs that people put up on people's houses in neighborhoods with primarily minorities in them. Whoever made that post is stupid. Okay, these are actually placards. They're for safety reasons. Every municipality's fire inspectors required to put this on abandoned buildings, vacant and abandoned buildings. They have to inspect them and check if there are any dangerous conditions that if this building should ever catch fire, the firemen will know right off the bat by looking at the building whether it's okay for them to enter that building to fight the fire, or if they should only fight it from the exterior because there could be dangerous or hazardous conditions inside. And this stems from OSHA warning after in 1999, there were 6 firefighters that died after entering an abandoned 6-story warehouse. The firefighters entered the structure and became disoriented and unable to escape the maze-like interior before there were multiple collapses in the building. So as a result of this, all fire departments should identify dangerous vacant buildings by affixing warning placards by entrances and doorways and other openings where firefighters may enter. So this first one means that it's vacant and there's no dangerous conditions. The one with the one line through it, that means there are use caution when entering. And then the one with the X means if at all, only enter, there are dangerous and hazardous conditions, only enter if you are saving somebody's life and you're aware of the dangers, that there are dangerous and hazardous conditions inside, and only enter to save and protect lives. All right, or it could look like this. This is another variant of that one. It has some information written on it and has a smaller X on it. Okay, it means unsafe and dangerous to firefighters, do not enter or occupy. Here's some pictures of them actually on buildings. Look, this one's even listed. You see boarded up buildings and stuff. Hey, you never know. Somebody could have ripped down a board or broke a window or broke in and is inside the building, maybe homeless people or something, but so the firefighters they got this placard on there, only fight from the exterior unless you're aware you're saving lives. This is just use extreme caution when entering the building, and has one line. You guys remember like Hurricane Katrina and stuff like that, where there was the floods down south? Firefighters had to have chainsaws and they cut out holes in the roofs to help people escape as they went into their attics and the buildings were filling with water. So they cut holes in the roofs. Then afterwards, they spray painted the box with the X on it, showing that it is now vacant, but it's dangerous conditions, don't enter. There's also placards like this. This is one from my town in Linden. We're going to go over this one in a later chapter. I think maybe it's a later chapter that we're going to go into this. There was a case where they were working on the furnace, and the exhaust pipe dislodged from the chimney and was spewing out the toxic carbon monoxide gases into the house. And in the room underneath where the children's bedroom was, and they were both in comas. One ended up dying, and the other one ended up going into a coma. So this is because the batteries had been taken out of the carbon monoxide detector because they were doing that annoying beeping. Well, that annoying beeping means, hey, I still work, but it's time to get new batteries. Beep, beep, beep. Hey, I still work. Beep, beep, beep. Time to replace the batteries. Beep, beep, beep. It's annoying on purpose, okay? But sometimes people pull out those batteries and they use them for something else, their remote control or something. Or maybe that's why they actually changed the law in 2019, that carbon monoxide detectors in houses now in New Jersey must have a 10-year sealed battery that is not removable. Okay, if you have removable batteries in your carbon monoxide detectors, you're not going to be able to sell or rent your property until you update those fire and carbon monoxide detectors with the 10-year sealed batteries. Anyway, those are signs. Okay, here's another sign that you may see. You probably see these on school buildings and public buildings or large commercial buildings. This is something that stems from the 1960s, where there was the threat of nuclear war a lot. So they get buildings that have fallout shelters in the basements. They get tax breaks for having those shelters, but they have to have a placard on the exterior of the building that says it's a fallout shelter. So in the threat or event of nuclear war, where do you hide? I mean, if a bomb hits, it's going to wipe out everything, However, if they have a fallout shelter in the basement, that may be one place to escape. Although I don't know if you'd want to escape there because the radiation afterwards, it's going to be around for years, We learned a lot since the 1961 when this came out. All right. How about this? You've probably seen this placard on trucks, tanker trucks, but you could see them on fences and buildings too. You guys ever go through a drive-through for food? You ever go to Taco Bell or McDonald's or Burger King or any kind of drive-through for any fast food place? You probably see this on a door that's on the back of the building, or maybe a storage area. You'll see a placard like this. Each one of these squares have significant meanings to them. So the squares are divided into 4 sections and they're color coded. The red means flammability. So if you have a high number of red like this, the higher the number, the higher the danger. Blue means a health hazard of some sort. Yellow means that's reactive or unstable, like it could be water reactive or something, There's some sort of an instability. And white means a special hazard, like oxidizers or things that are reactive to water. They could explode or have asphyxiating gases, etc. The white section would have letters in it, not numbers. Okay. OX, SA, or a W with a line through it. You don't need to know any of that for exams or study any of that for exams. I'm just helping you with that, just to have knowledge of these signs. So, I mean, they're warning you of dangers. It's good if you guys were aware of that, that could have maybe saved your life, maybe, or to use caution when entering those areas, right? Okay, commission rebates. Let's talk about them. We spoke about rebates a little bit. We know that if we offer rebates, we can only offer them to the public if our brokers allow it. Now, rebates can only be paid in the form of a credit or check at closing, which is a direct deduction from our commissions before we get paid by the closing agent. We're not paying out a rebate. We're not writing out checks or giving cash to people when we pay out a rebate. Okay, the closing agent at the closing table, which will be an attorney or title company, will be doing that. Okay. Rebates can be offered in the form of a credit or check at closing. They're not paid by you, the real estate licensee. It must be in the form, it must be in writing from the start of your relationship with that buyer that you're offering them a rebate. Now, what kind of rebates can you offer? You can only offer rebates to buyers of a primary residence. It's not for second homes, investment properties, vacation homes, or commercial properties. And all parties must be made aware in the transaction that a rebate's being offered. So lenders can forbid the rebates due to factors like the type of loan that may restrict it. So we just need to be aware and inform our clients that even if we're offering them a rebate, their lender could say no, and then there's nothing we could do about it. Then in that case, we have to keep our entire commission. All right. So here's a little tip for you, though. Because you're required to inform all parties that you're offering a rebate in the transaction, when do you inform them? I would suggest that you inform them in attorney review after the offer has been accepted. Otherwise, it could interfere with your negotiations if they know that this buyer is going to be getting money back from you. They'd be like, well, then I want more money. You could pay that money to me. So rebates can't be dependent on a lottery, contest, game, or drawing. We could only offer rebates if our broker allows it. And advertisements of rebates have to put out there and indicate to consult with a tax professional in regards of receiving those rebates, because they may have to pay income taxes on it. Okay, so on page 22, here's what you highlight. It cannot be offered through a lottery, contest, or game. And the purchaser must be advised to consult to contact a tax professional about the income taxes consequences of receiving the rebate. And all parties to the transaction, including any mortgage lender, must be made aware of it. Okay. Everybody find where that's at on page 22?
Yeah.
Yes.
Also on page 22, any agreement between competing offices to establish standard commission rates is forbidden, not only by the federal government, but by the real estate commission. What are they talking about? Yet again, price fixing. Do you think it's going to be on exams? How many times have we mentioned this already? What law makes price fixing illegal on the federal level? What federal law makes price fixing illegal?
The Antitrust Act?
Which one?
Sherman Antitrust.
Sherman Antitrust Act. Very good. The Sherman Antitrust Act.
Can we go back to the last slide really quickly?
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Hello?
Yeah, I screenshotted it.
Okay. All right, we talked about discriminatory commission splits. We mentioned it when we were reading the waiver of broker cooperation there. They mentioned on that form about discriminatory commission splits. And I told you guys about how there used to be a company out there called Foxtons. They're no longer in existence. They're actually a mortgage company from Great Britain. They came over here. And, you know, how do mortgage reps get business? Well, they troll us at our real estate offices. You're going to see that when you start working at a real estate office, you're going to have mortgage reps, all of them rushing up to you, sticking their business cards in your hand and trying to shake your hand, giving you their flyers about the types of loans that they offer and their programs, and notifying you that every day they're going to be bringing you free bagels, donuts, and coffee. Okay. That's their way of trying to bribe us and incentivize us to contact them because they gave you something for free. So now you feel obligated to give something back to them. So when you get a client that's a buyer and they need to get pre-qualified or pre-approved for a mortgage loan, they want you to give them a buzz. And that's fine. But this company, Foxtons, they said, you know what? Instead of sucking up the real estate agents to get these leads, how about we open up our own real estate brokerage that will get a lot of business by not focusing on making money off the real estate business, just the mortgage side. So what we'll do is we'll open up a real estate brokerage and take listings at super low commission rates, 2%. So they did that. It's called Foxtons. Actually, it was called YHD, which stands for Your Home Direct, YHD Foxtons. Then they later dropped the YHD and it was just Foxtons. And they were taking listings. They ended up raising them to 3%. That was the total commission that then got split between the two agencies. They were offering a 1.5 split, whereas a lot of other agencies may have been taking 5 or 6% of listings and then splitting those by offering 3% to the other side. So they got kind of pissed off when you got this company that comes in there and it's offering like next to nothing for you. So you've got buyers now that come in, your buyer clients, you're running them around, you're working this transaction now, and you only get 1.5% commission that you still need to split with your broker. That's like nothing. You can't live off of them. So some agents and brokers got pissed at this. And they decided what they were going to do is when Foxtons agents came to show your listings, instead of giving them the 3% of your 6% commission that you may have charged, they're going to offer them the same commission that they offer, the 1.5%. However, the real estate commission said, you can't do that. It's discriminatory. You are discriminating against that agency. And then you say, no, we're offering them the same commission split. It's reciprocal. We're giving the same commission split that they're giving us. And the commission said, well, that's not how reciprocal commission splits work. Reciprocal is if you're offering 50% of, if they're offering 50% of their commission to you, you have to do the same thing. Now, they can't dictate how much commission that you charge the homeowner to charge them for the total commission. But the split they have within their control. So if they offer you 50% of their 3%, which is 1.5%, you have to do the same thing. But your commission rates are 6%. You have to offer them 50% as well, which would be 3%. 1.5% is significantly less than 50% of the total of your 6% commission split. You guys follow? So that was deemed discriminatory according to this Real Estate Commission administrative rule. All right, moving along, because that's not going to be an exam question anymore. It's no longer a big hot button topic issue that everybody was dealing with at the time. They're not dealing with it so much anymore because the company went bankrupt. All right. So what happens if you violate real estate licensing law for any of those rules, advertising, or any of these regulations that we've gone over so far, or those that we have yet to go over? What can the Real Estate Commission do? Highlight these notes on page 22. The commission could investigate complaints on their own, or they could investigate complaints that people make. And then they could have actions against your license. From least severe to most severe, they could place your license on probation. They could suspend your license, or they could revoke it. In addition, they could fine you. They could give you a fine up to $5,000 for a first offense and up to $10,000 for subsequent violations. And if you have 3 or more violations, depending on what it is, the Real Estate Commission can revoke your license. They could deem you a repeat offender and just revoke your license and ban you from getting one ever again. So the New Jersey Real Estate Commission reserves the right to permanently revoke a real estate license on the first offense as well. Depending what it was that you did, how severe it was, what the heck did you do to get your license revoked for life on a first offense? I don't know, but it had to have been bad. Okay. And then just a little factoid here on the next page. The person who files a complaint is known as the complainant, while the person being investigated is known as the respondent. I don't know, that sounds like something that you would need to know for, or possibly need to know for an exam question that would be very wacky and out there. So I doubt you're going to get that, but just in case, I went over it. You guys got these highlights? So now we'll go to my notes of the same topics and more stuff. So, screenshot time. By the way, if you ever try taking screenshots and everything is covered up by the Zoom controls, you could minimize or resize your screen that's being cast to you from me. And you could also drag and drop the videos, like the videos of me here. You could grab that screen and you can drag it off to the side, the top, the bottom, or where have you. So you could rearrange the screen a little, the real estate you have there on your screen. So, what is probation, suspension, and revocation? The book likes to define these words by using the word itself. Like, what is probation? Probation is probation. It doesn't make me understand it. That's like saying, what is water? Water is water. Huh? It doesn't educate people. So what is probation? It's a strong warning that there'll be a close observation by the licensing authority for a period of time. Suspension is a temporary lifting of your license in which time you cannot work. Revocation could also be a temporary or a permanent restriction on your license. However, they usually do this only if they're going to knock down your license type. Like if you have, if you're licensed as a broker salesperson, if they revoke your license for a period of time, when you get it back, often you get it back as a salesperson license and no longer have a broker salesperson's license. They knock you down a notch. Okay, fines can also be imposed in addition to those sanctions. You could have them take actions against your license or issue fines, or both. Now, fines for violating licensing law are up to $5,000 for a first offense and up to $10,000 for subsequent violations. If it is a timeshare issue, I don't think you're going to get this one on exams, but in case you do, if it's for violating timeshare laws, the minimum fine is $250 with a maximum of $50,000 per offense. That's for out-of-state subdivided land sales and timeshare violations. Do they just give you fines, issue fines and actions against your license? No. There's a procedure, there's a process to it. They give you an advance notice, at least 10 days invitation to attend a hearing in Trenton. If you are not happy with the results of that hearing, they could be appealed to the New Jersey Superior Court. And your broker could also be disciplined for things that you do wrong if they had guilty knowledge. Oh, here's another word you could add to your definition list: guilty knowledge. Guilty knowledge is when your brokers know or should have known that their licensed agents are doing something wrong, and they did nothing to attempt to stop or prevent those activities. In that case, the broker can be held just as liable as their agent who did whatever was wrong. Okay. We'll have that on the next slide. I think we'll have a slide about guilty knowledge, or one of the coming up slides anyway. And violations. Licensees must notify the Real Estate Commission within 30 days of any conviction, indictment, or being charged with a crime. All right. You know what an indictment is? It's just an accusation. And that accusation went before a grand jury to see if they have standing to move forward with a court case. And if anybody ever watched Law and Order on TV, you know that common saying amongst attorneys: you could indict a ham sandwich. It's not hard to get an indictment. Because there's nobody there to defend themselves, and it could just be a story that's told and no evidence needs to be presented. Okay, so repeat offenders with 3 or more violations could have their licenses revoked for life, and serious offenses may result in your license being suspended until the case is resolved. In this country, normally you're innocent until proven guilty. However, in certain serious circumstances, the Real Estate Commission would be complacent if they did not take some sort of action by suspending your license until there's an outcome, instead of allowing you to have continued access to lock boxes to get access to houses and, you know, people's data and information. Because if you should commit one of these crimes again, they could end up getting sued. It could be it's to try to prevent not just the lawsuit, but to prevent somebody else from getting hurt if you were guilty of those things, which they don't know at this point. But for serious offenses, they could suspend your license immediately until there's an outcome to the case. For things like rape, murder, robbery, kidnapping, criminal conspiracy, and so on, other similar type cases. Okay. And here's a link to the Real Estate Commission's disciplinary actions page, where I get all those juicy little clips that I put in between a lot of the slides showing you, yeah, this agent got in trouble. They were found guilty of this or that or the other thing. Where do I get that from? I get that right there from the Real Estate Commission's disciplinary actions page. So let me actually highlight that and I'll share it with you so you have access to it. Boom. If you want to peruse through them a little bit yourself. Anybody need to get a screenshot of this, or is everybody good?
I have it.
Yeah. Okay. So fines. Fines can be imposed in addition to license sanctions. Up to $5,000 for a first violation and up to $10,000 for subsequent violations. So what if there are 5 violations in one transaction? How much could the real estate commission fine you? What's the maximum that they could fine you? Well, for that first offense, up to 5,000, and each subsequent event, 10,000. So 10, 20, 30, 40, $45,000 total for if you have 5 offenses in one transaction. That's how you would add it up. But if you get a question on exams that says, hey, you did this wrong, or you had a real estate agent that did this wrong, how much can they be fined on their first offense? $100? $7,000, $10,000, $15,000. Which would be the correct answer? $100, $7,000, $10,000, or $15,000?
7,000
Team.
first.
$100. Because look, the fine is up to $5,000 for a first offense. So 7,000 is more than 5,000. So it's not any of those other options. It's actually $100. They don't need to fine you 5,000. It's up to. It could be 0 up to $5,000 for a first offense. They could just give you a warning, or they could give you a $50 fine just to give you a little slap on the wrist. You know, make it sting a little bit so you don't do that again. You know, bad boy or girl. You know, boom, give you a little slap on the wrist. A little fine to make it sting and stick with you. You know, next time it could be a lot more. Okay. So everybody get that understanding now? You could get a question on exams like that. It could be a little bit tricky, makes you think a little bit there. The penalties are up to 5,000 for a first offense and up to 10,000 for subsequent violations. Okay, so now we can highlight on page 23 the procedures for this. They could, before suspending or revoking a license, they must provide the licensee with a 10-day advance notice to attend a hearing. Here's their definition of guilty knowledge. I got a better definition on my own slide on the next slide that's coming up, but here's their definition of guilty knowledge, which they seem to improve since the last version book. It seems closer to my definition, but still a little bit could be improved a little better. And then what happens if your broker's license? What if your broker's license is suspended or revoked? What happens to your license? Well, the salesperson's licenses that were under that broker are all suspended. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you cannot work if you're not supervised by a licensed New Jersey broker. And because their license has been suspended, all of the agents' licenses under that broker are suspended too. Until the broker's license is reinstated, the broker is replaced, or you transfer your license to another broker. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm good. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
you answered it. Yeah.
All right. And then all the way here down at the bottom, the commission could also suspend a license for anyone awaiting trial for serious crimes, like I previously said. Murder, kidnapping, robbery, conspiracy theory, so on. Conspiracy theories, and so on. Theories. Conspiracy, not conspiracy theories. You know, when everybody's got the highlights and such, and so on and so forth. You good? I don't see anybody else writing, so if nobody else mentions anything, I'm going to change the slide. So here's my slide with the definition of guilty knowledge, and I further elaborate on the explanation of what actually happens if your broker loses their license or their license gets suspended. Because what we highlighted from the book, it explained it, but it didn't do a crystal clear job of explaining it. So I give a little more elaboration here. So let's first talk about guilty knowledge. What is guilty knowledge? Absolutely add it to your definition list. You'll absolutely get this on exams. It's when a broker is aware or should have been aware that one of their licensed or unlicensed assistants is doing something wrong, and they make no attempt to stop or prevent those activities of whatever it is that they're doing wrong. If that's the case, the broker can be held just as liable as the agent or their unlicensed assistant that's doing something wrong. Because the broker, what is your broker's job? To furnish guidance and direction. Remember, that's not training. That's ensuring that everybody is following the rules, the laws, the administrative code, the statutes. So what happens if your broker loses their license? What if their license is suspended or revoked? What happens to your license? Well, all the agents under that broker will have their license suspended because they cannot work unsupervised. Licensees can wait until the broker either gets their license back, the broker is replaced with one who's actively licensed, or the agent transfers their license to another company under an actively licensed broker, and the real estate commission in that case will waive the license transfer or reissuance under that new brokerage's name. They'll waive that fee. Okay. Now, sometimes this actually does happen. You may think it doesn't happen. Look, here's a guy, Leo Pliger, and pronounce that name, Pliger. Anyway, he was a real estate broker in Bergen County, admitted conduct that violated New Jersey statutes by failure to ensure the timely renewal of his company's license during the 21 to 23 license cycle. He engaged in conduct demonstrating incompetency because he didn't renew his own company's license. And that also violated the administrative code in that he failed as a broker of record to ensure that individual licensees licensed to his company did not engage in brokerage business during the term his brokerage was not licensed. So that's another charge. And the license of said individual licensees were inactive at the time. So he agreed to pay a fine in the amount of $5,000. So look at that. He didn't even tell the agents within his own office, hey, your licenses are not active because I failed to pay to renew my license, or not just pay, but do whatever's required to renew his own license for the company or as a broker. So here's a list of violations. We're almost done with this chapter. That's cool. We should be ending up with this chapter before lunch. So let's go over some of the violations that could end up in fines or sanctions against your license.
Can we go back to the last slide really quickly? I just want to get the last bullet point.
This one?
Yeah, the agent transfers their license to another company. Okay, no problem.
Okay. You got it? So let's look at some of the violations that could end up in disciplinary actions. Making false promises or substantial misrepresentations. Okay, well, don't make promises to anybody, like, oh, property values are sure to go up 10% in the next year. How the hell would you know that? Do you have some kind of crystal ball or something? Don't ever tell anybody that. And if somebody asks you, hey, what do you think? Property values going up? Because I've had this question asked to me before. And I said, well, I got an opinion about it, but I don't have a crystal ball where I could tell you for sure. Use that line. You guys can steal that line. I wish I had a crystal ball I could tell you. But I have an opinion. I have an idea what I think is going to happen, but I can't guarantee that. I wish I had that crystal ball. So that's one way to respond to clients who asked that, so you could avoid getting in that conversation altogether. But sometimes you get agents, oh yeah, properties are going to go up at least 10% in the next year. What the hell's wrong with you? How do you know that? Maybe there's going to be a mortgage crash and the property values go down for the next 10 years in a row, you know, which has happened. I don't know about 10 years, but it has happened where they drop down for quite a few years like that. Acting for more than one party in a transaction without knowledge of all parties thereof. What do we call that? When you're representing more than one person in a transaction and not everybody's aware of it. What's that called? Come on, people. Undisclosed dual agency. Pursuing a flagrant or continued course of misrepresentation or making false promises. Failure to account for or pay over money belonging to others. Conduct demonstrating unworthiness, incompetence, dishonesty, or bad faith. Failure to provide a client with a copy of a contract at the time of signing. Well, what do we call that copy that you give to people at the time of signing? What is that called? You need to know that term for exams too. A duplicate original, right? Or failure to specify an expiration date in a listing. Yeah, to be valid, any listing agreement has to have not just a start date, but also the end date of the listing on it. You don't leave that line blank because you don't want to get into that discussion with your client, fill it out later, and then come back, oh, I forgot to give you this, here's your copy. Yeah, don't do that. Using a lottery, contest, game, prize, or drawing to promote the sale of real estate. Being convicted of a crime which the commission does not have knowledge of. Collecting a commission as a broker in a transaction while simultaneously representing either party in a different capacity for consideration. Consideration is money, pay, some sort of remuneration for the services you're doing. So, for instance, acting as an attorney and the broker for the same client on the transaction. A little bit of a conflict of interest there, huh? Using any trade name or insignia of a real estate organization if you're not a member of it. Here, I'll throw another little addition to that one, because this I've seen before too. Real estate agents who win awards. And they're notified in advance that they're getting an award because they've accomplished a good task. You know, they've got the Circle of Excellence Award and they're a silver or platinum or gold member or whatever. And then they start advertising that before they're actually given the award. So they give you a heads up that you're getting the award, but they didn't assign it to you yet. They didn't give it to you yet. But now you're putting it in your advertisements that you're the Circle of Excellence Award winner. They get in trouble for that. You cannot advertise that you're the award winner until you actually get the award. Or that you got some sort of a designation from a class that you didn't actually take, okay? Paying any compensation or commission to an unlicensed person, except in some circumstances to a buyer, buyer's rebate. Any other conduct constituting fraud or dishonest dealing. A salesperson or broker salesperson accepting any commission or valuable consideration from anyone except their employing broker. Who can you pay a commission to? Who can you pay anything to? Nobody. Who can you be paid by?
Your
The
broker?
broker.
Only your broker.
Broker.
Only your broker. And who can your broker pay?
Licensees. and
Any
other
of their
brokers.
licensees. What was the other one?
Other brokers.
Another broker, like when they pay out a referral fee, or a buyer's rebate to the purchaser of a primary residence. Okay? And procuring a real estate license through fraud or deceits. Don't lie about having a high school education or not having a criminal history or being behind on your child support. These things, the lie can be the lie could be worse than the offense there in these cases. Just like this guy, he misrepresented his court-ordered child support obligation was in the arrearage of more than 6 months, and so they what did they do? He's ineligible for a license issued by the commission, so they suspended his license basically until he gets caught up on his child support, or getting his license until he gets caught up on his child support, and he got a $1,500 fine. And he got the added bonus that his name gets to be put out there in the public's eye that he's not paying his child support. So he gets that added embarrassment. Okay, some more violations. This is on the next page, 24. Commingling the licensee's own money with that of the client's in the escrow account. Selling property in which the licensee has an interest without disclosing in the contract of sale that interest and the fact that the seller is a licensed real estate salesperson or broker. Yeah, if you're buying a property for yourself to invest in, or a family member or relative, someone close to you, and you don't disclose that relationship of the parties. Buying a property without disclosing in the contract of sale that the buyer is a licensed real estate broker or salesperson. You're required by law to disclose it, so disclose it. Disclose, disclose, disclose. Are you taking advantage of somebody? By not disclosing it? No, but would it disadvantage them if you did disclose it? No. So why not disclose it? Since the law requires you to. You could get in trouble if you don't. So disclose, 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 right? Buying a property with, okay, so violating any of the rules or regulations on rental practices, or failure to notify the commission within 30 days of any conviction, indictment, or being charged with a crime, or of the suspension or revocation of any real estate license issued in another state, or the initiation of disciplinary proceedings, or any professional license for that matter. You need to notify the real estate commission within 30 days. And violating any of these previous items or the administrative rules adopted by the real estate commission. And if you're a licensee guilty of a third violation of any of the listed articles, you could be deemed a repeat offender and denied ever holding a license again. Okay, so get those highlights down. And that would conclude this chapter. So then we're going to get to the key terms to review. Oh, I just have this screenshot here one more time in case you guys didn't get it the first time and you wanted to go over at it. Okay, and that's that. So that is chapter 2 that we have concluded. That was a long chapter. Chapter 3 is even longer. Let's do the key terms to review. There's only one key terms for this chapter as well. So you guys know how this works. On page 25, we have the key terms to review for chapter 2. I'm going to read the definition on the right-hand side of the page. You guys are going to shout out what you think the correct corresponding answer of the term is to it on the left-hand side of the page. There's no penalties for wrong answers, so shout them out as you get them. Are you ready? I'll say it. Are you ready?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Broker's additional place of business. What do we call that?
Branch officer.
Branch of
It
office.
is a branch office. One is
Branch
A,
office.
correct. Least severe discipline by the Real Estate Commission.
Probation.
Probation, 6 is B. Place for money belonging to clients and customers.
Escrow account.
An escrow account, 4 is C. A copy of a real estate contract with original signatures on it.
Duplicate.
Duplicate original.
Original.
Duplicate original, 3 is D as in David. Awareness of wrongdoing with no attempt to stop it.
Guilty knowledge.
Guilty
It
knowledge.
is guilty knowledge. 5 is E as in Edward. Mixing broker's money with that of others.
Commingling.
Commingling.
You are
Commingling.
commingling. 2 is F. That is correct. Cancellation of a real estate license.
Revocation.
Suspension.
G.
I'm
Revocation.
sorry, I didn't get any of that.
Revocation.
Revocation, correct. 7 is G. Temporary lifting of a real estate license.
Suspension.
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 8 is H, suspension. Another name for an escrow account.
Trust account.
Trust account.
Trust account, 9 is I. And form sellers must sign if they do not want the broker to offer cooperation with any other brokers.
Waiver of
Waivers
broker
of
corporation.
broker
The
corporation.
waiver of broker cooperation, 10 is J. And that concludes chapter 2. Did anybody, before I stop the recording here for chapter 2, did anybody have any questions about any of the review questions at the end of the chapter? Did anybody do any of them yet in advance yet or no? Okay. All right, so let me stop that recording.